What's going on, you guys? How you doing today? So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to basically be squeezing endo out of things you already have, how to be squeezing extra credits out of things you already have, and how to be building yourself from here on out through the game. So where we left off was basically on Mars. And from here forward, what we're going to do, you guys, is I'm not going to spoil that much. I basically, in kind of walking you guys through these planets and stuff and showing you what to do, you're basically following the same pattern for everything else in the game. For all the other, planets that you're going to wind up going through, you're going to do basically the same thing that I showed you in all the previous videos. You're going to follow the checklist to get to the very next junction. As far as all the bosses and all that stuff goes, I'm going to put those in separate videos so that they don't make this walkthrough take any longer. Because a lot of the bosses, you're going to be able to just beat anyway. You're not really going to need to know, like, okay, what is it that I exactly have to do to kill this boss? So that's not really going to be a big thing. Or that big of a deal for you guys. But from here on out, this is what we're doing. I realized as I got through the solar system that I really kind of hit a plateau or a wall in between Jupiter and Saturn. Things basically started to get harder, and this is where I found that you really need to know how to start building yourself. Because if you guys, remember for the beginning half of this series, as we were going through it, a lot of these missions and planets and stuff like that, they were really easy. It didn't really matter what mods you had on. And I realized by the time I got to Jupiter and Saturn, now it starts to matter. So we'll get into builds and stuff like that in a little bit in this video. But for now, I want to walk you guys through something really quick. This is how you guys can squeeze a whole lot of extra credits out, which is something you're going to want to probably do around now, especially if I'm going to start showing you guys how to get builds going. But you go to your equipment right here, and you go into your inventory. And when you're in your inventory, you're going to have loads of things that you can sell here, right? But just to make life easier, we're going to go to miscellaneous, okay? So this is going to narrow it down a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to sell all the extra stuff that we don't need anymore, all right? So these blueprints, for example, like I already own this weapon. I don't need that blueprint. Ash, I already own all of these. I already own an Ash. It's not tradable. Regular Ash, and by the way, the blueprints you guys will see here, like the Ash systems, the Ash optics, these are only for regular, like when you're in your miscellaneous section, these are only regular frames. I'm not going to be able to sell prime stuff in here that I would be able to trade for plat. These blueprints that I'm selecting right now, they're not tradable. So you guys don't have to worry about, is it a good idea to trade it or not? So all that being said, I'm kind of just going to skim through this a little bit. And like these, do not sell these. Do not sell these. Do not sell these here. I'm going to show you guys in this video where you would rather go and sell these, because these are worth a lot of endo to you. So you don't want to touch any of these right now. All that being said, let's see. What else can we find that we don't want to sell? So that we can sell... Brack, we can sell. Already have this built. This Brack weapon, by the way, you guys are gonna get from doing the lore raid and beating the Grustrag 3. Broken War blueprints, just in case. This is very hard to get. You have to kill Stalker for this. Just in case at some point in the future it does wind up becoming tradable, which I doubt it will, but just in case, I'm gonna hold on to these. Because that would be huge if that ever became tradable. But basically, I'm gonna hold on to this just for the sake of having one to show off, because that I think you only get from doing a chroma quest, which you only really can do once. Despair you get from Stalker. I'm gonna hold on to that to show it off. The Detron right here, I believe you get this from doing Zanuka, just in case that ever becomes tradable. We're holding on to that. The Dread, I'm gonna hold on to the Dread as well. These lenses, do not sell these. Those are huge. You're definitely... By the way, there will be spoilers after this video. Like, this doesn't explain anything to you. This isn't spoiling anything, but this is later in the game. So I'm going to explain later in the next video, just so you guys are aware. There's going to be spoilers. Do not worry about, do not worry about watching the next video until after you have beaten the second dream and the War Within quest. Once you guys beat those, then move on to the next video in this series. But all that being said, let's just rush through this. If I see anything else that I feel that you guys probably wouldn't want to sell, then we'll talk about that. The fish, this is from Cetus. We'll get into that in a future video. But here, the Gorgon Rake. There's a possibility that this is or will become tradable in the future, so I'm not touching this. This we're going to hold on to. There are very few things in the game that are not primed that you can trade. And for now, what we're doing is holding on to all the things that are tradable or may become tradable in the future. So a lot of the things that, you know, like I'm going through right now, you guys will see. You don't necessarily want to sell these things. So Latron, I don't think this is tradable, but just in case, we're holding on to it. The Lecta Blueprint, already got that. Limbo, already got that. Regular Loki, regular Mag, we're getting rid of these, not tradable. These ship parts, by the way, these are tradable. Don't get rid of these. You can make some platinum off of these. You can sell like a full set and stuff. So any ship parts you guys pick up through the game, those are tradable. So save them. Let's see, the miter, all that sort of stuff. What else we got here? Nidus, Nova, Nyx. Let's see, what are my credits up to? 1.7 mil already. Fantastic. How about Oberon? Yup, new Oberon will push it over. All you guys that play this game, you're like, well, how do I get Oberon? Don't worry, you will get loads of Oberon. I promise you. He will happen. Once you make it to a certain point in the game, you won't stop getting Oberon. He'll just keep coming at you. So, just hold on to that. The Onyx handle. I believe this is a what is it called? An Arcwing thing. And this potentially is tradable, so I'm holding on to these. I don't know for sure, but I believe there are some Arcwing parts that are tradable, so I'm holding on to those. The Orpheus is not tradable. Would be cool if it was, though. They may come out with a primed version of it in the future because it's pretty kick-ass. But for now, we're going to get rid of these. Saren is completely tradable. And again, this account right here that you guys are watching all this on, these are tradable. Don't sell those. More ship parts. This account you guys are seeing all this on, this account is about 5 months old, maybe a little bit more than 5 months old right now. When I found out the War Within was coming out, I was like, well, crap, I can't continue making this video until I find out what the War Within, not the War Within, the Plains of Eidolon is all about. So this is tradable. This I'm holding on to for the same reason I'm holding on to the Broken War. This is tradable. The Imperative Vandal Blueprint, tradable. So hold on to that. Not tradable, not tradable. Okay, 2.5 million credits after 5 months of storing crap up and just farming the crap out of this game. So, Boomtown. Yeah, let's sell it all. Oh wait, you know what? Really quick, make sure you guys are being smart about it and going through all this stuff. Which it's, there we go. Let me scroll down here. Alright, yeah, tradable, tradable. I'm looking for something that would be bad to get rid of right here. Equinox, that's fine. Gara, that's fine. That's not tradable. Let's see, what else? Kazaz. Oh, let's get rid of that. Kazaz Blade. Oh, you're kidding me. Alright, you know what? It's not, I don't care that bad. This, I think, might be tradable, so I shouldn't be getting rid of this, but I don't want to have to go through all that crap all over again. So I'm trading it. It's no big deal. I can get it from a syndicate again if I really do need it. But other than that, I think we are looking good here. Perfect. Okay. So there we go. An extra 2.5 million credits. Fantastic. Next thing we're going to show you guys is how to get loads and loads of endo. So the first thing we want to do is you guys want to go to duplicates when you go into your mod section. And then what you're looking for is all these duplicates. This is an insane amount of duplicates right here. Now these mod, they don't give you a lot at all of endo. Like let's see, select all of these. And if I want to turn this into cannot sell last of ability mod revenge. Okay. So what if I do 1200? How about that? Is that okay? Yeah, that's okay. All right. So we want to dissolve these into endo. And it says if I dissolve 12,000 of them, I'm going to get 6,000 endo. So for 12,000 of these mods, that's kind of crap. But at the same time, it's better than nothing. And you totally, I'm telling you guys, you'd rather have the endo. Do not turn this into credits. It is too easy to make credits in this game. You're going to be wasting loads and loads of your time if you turn all this into credits, because then you'll be screwed out of your power by not having enough endo to make your mods stronger. So do not turn these into credits. It is, you will kill yourself if you turn this into credits. Too easy to make. Hopefully you guys get the point of what I'm about to do here. I'm going to go through all this and get rid of all this stuff. And we're going to see what my endo winds up jumping up to over here. So I'm going to cut forward to that. Okay, so about here is where I want to stop. And I kind of want you guys to like look at it like this. So I'm under the impression that a lot of you guys are like brand new and you're like, okay, I haven't learned what all the good mods are yet in the game, so how do I know what I should and should not get rid of? Well, if it's worth a lot of platinum, it's likely because it's really rare to get. So what I would do is, what I'm doing right here, I would stop around the low 20s. Especially if you've only been playing like a couple of months or whatnot, because chances are, if you do have a really, really good mod that's worth something to you, or, you know, platinum-wise, if you want to trade it, chances are you don't have 20 or more of them because of how rare it is. So this is a good spot to stop right here. As you guys can see, I've only made it like this far through, which the rest of it is really just all my other mods that aren't duplicates, that some of them are used and whatnot. But regardless, this is all the numbers that we just got through right here. So I went through all these duplicates and all this sort of stuff. And what we're looking at is 111,000 endo. Almost 112,000 endo that we're going to dissolve into this. So all these, Boomtown, we're going to dissolve them right here. Yes, I definitely want to do that. And now we're looking at all this kind of endo. But wait, there's more. There's one more thing that you guys want to go do to get yourselves some endo. So you want to go over to Maru's Bazaar, which is now located on Mars. Once the planes hit, they moved Maru over to Mars. So we're going to go here, and I will show you guys the next thing you want to do to make loads of endo once we get to Maru's Bazaar. Alright, so now that we're in Maru's Bazaar, what we want to do is we want to go, I want to sell my we want to go extract endo from my ayatan items. So we're going to go here, and basically, we're just going to select every single ayatan that we have. Why? Because I'm crazy. I don't care about decorating my ship yet. And for now, I know 5 months into this game, and I got all these ayatans, I know I'll wind up getting all this back in another 5 months, and I can wait. I don't really care, because early on in the game, we're at the point where we need to make ourselves powerful. The more powerful we are, the easier it's going to be on us to be able to get more out of the game. So, stronger is better in Warframe. Not necessarily like in every scenario. You don't have to be like mega OP or anything like that. You really just have to be strong enough to make it through the solar system. And currently, we want loads and loads of endo. That's really what it's going to take to make ourselves crazy strong in this game. So here, we're looking at extracting 165,000 endo out of all this. Ooh, I'm excited about this because I'm going to get to level up so many mods that I have been waiting a while to just overpower. Yeah, I am very positive I want to do this. Yeah, you know what? You're impressed, Maru? I'm impressed. Okay, so now that's what you guys wanted to do. You want to sell your ayatans at Maru right there. And let's go back to our ship now. So now what I'm going to show you guys is how to be building yourselves, how to build your weapons, your warframes, and your companions. So first we're going to start off with weapons. The general rule of thumb for weapons is, let me pull this over here for you guys to see this. Rule of thumb for building weapons in warframes. The first thing is base damage. The second thing is multi-shot, then elementals, then crit or status. Okay, so I'm going to walk you guys through this so you can kind of tell how you know whether it's a crit or status weapon. Until you get to this point, really until you get to elementals or here, you're building every weapon in the game for base damage and multi-shot. Almost every weapon in the game with multi-shot. But for the majority of them, like over the 400 plus weapons that exist in this game, there may be 10 of them. You don't really have to worry about multi-shot. But for the other 390 plus weapons, base damage and multi-shot, super important. So basically what we're going to do is we'll stick with the Tigris right here, and we'll go to upgrade this thing. Okay, let's pick a spot that's got nothing on it. And what we want to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're looking for our damage mods. Okay, so point blank. This is numero uno, most important, right? We're going to throw that on there because it's base damage, right? It straight up just does damage. If you guys look, 90% damage. That's all it does. If I look at the Blaze mod over here, this does damage and heat. So now we're looking at elementals, but we don't know if we want the elemental yet. So we're not jumping up, we're basically not jumping ahead to this one. But point blank, when it comes to shotguns, is the #1 thing that you guys want, unless you guys got yourselves a primed point blank, which you can get from the Void Trader, or you can buy in Trade Chat. I recommend getting it from the Void Trader. So now we're going to type in multi, right? And here we go with our Hell's Chamber. Hell's Chamber is huge. Now you guys see how much room this takes up, the 15 polarity right there. So I'm going to throw this on that, and it's going to cut it in half, right? So we're looking at basically this is our multi-shot now. Everything in every weapon has a multi-shot. It's got a base damage, it's got a multi-shot. So that's what you're looking at. The next thing we want to do is we want to build for elementals. Okay, so we're going to check out elements. No, that's not going to work. All right, so forget that idea. But basically, here's what we're doing. We're going to look here. Chilling Grasp. This is an elemental because it does cold damage. Incinerary Heat Coat. This does heat damage. Contagious Spread does Toxin. There's got to be an electric one around here. Maybe I didn't get it yet or haven't. Whatever it is. Let's see. Charged Shells. Here, this is the electric one. Charged Shells. And then you got your... Those are basically your 4 elemental mods. Your heat, your cold, your toxin, your electricity. Okay? Those are the elementals that we're basically talking about here when we say build for elemental damage. After that, and as far as your primary damage goes, like Sweeping Serration, this would fall under the damage. But it obviously didn't show up when we did that. As you guys can see, it doesn't show up here. So you're eventually you guys are gonna learn yourselves. Like, the more that you play this, the more you're gonna figure out, like, okay, what counts as damage. But this counts as physical damage. Anything that is puncture, slash, and impact, that counts as, that's considered physical damage in this game. So it's not an elemental, it's not crit or status, it's none of that stuff. It's physical damage, it's its own thing. So something like Point Blank is base damage, and the puncture, slash, and impact are physical damage. Now, the way that you tell whether or not, like, okay, Sweeping Serration, where did that go? Sweeping Serration is giving us slash damage. But how do we know if slash is what we want on this weapon? How do we know if it's smart or not? And let's back up a second. Always put base damage on your weapons. That's what we're talking about when we say base damage. When it comes to physical damage, what you guys are looking for is what on the base stats of the weapon is the most powerful thing by itself. And from the looks of it here, it's looking like the slash damage for the Tigris seems to be the most powerful of the base stats. So if I go back to, like, nothing here, let me leave this on. I want to get the red numbers away. So here we go. The base damage for slash on this is 1200. That's huge, especially since puncture and impact are only 156. So we know that slash is the most important physical damage that we want on this weapon, so we'll go with Sweeping Serration when we want to throw this on the build. Alright, so we'll jump back over to the C config, and we'll throw a Sweeping Serration on here, right? And basically what that did was, adding the 120% to slash damage took me from 1200 to 1100 physical damage on slash. That is epic. I mean, the Tigris Prime itself is just an epic weapon. The amount of damage this thing outputs is something that you guys absolutely want to get your master ranks up over the point where you can go ahead and grab one of these. I believe currently you have to be a master rank 14 for the Tigris Prime. I'm not entirely sure on that, but get your master rank up as high as you guys can, because it just opens up more for you in the game. But all that being said, now moving back to the elementals, we got, you know, the cold, the heat, all that sort of stuff. Now, how do we know whether we want to build for elementals or whether we want to build for crit damage? This is actually pretty simple. We're going to look at the base damage of the weapon, and right here for the status, this says 30%. And for critical, we're looking at 10% critical chance. Okay, so clearly the status chance is a lot higher, being 30, than the critical chance at 10. So ideally what we're doing is we're building for status. Let me show you guys the build that I'm using on the Tigris currently, and you guys can see. So the status here, we took that status up to 100%. That means 100% of the time when I shoot an enemy, I'm going to get a status effect on that enemy. And currently the statuses that I built this weapon for are radiation and viral. So my radiation is going to proc 1500, viral is going to proc over 10,000. And basically what we're doing, the way that we got radiation and viral is basically because of the order in which we put our elemental mods on. So like Frigid Blast here, we got Shell Shock, Blaze, and Scattering Inferno. Now watch what happens when I switch these around, because the order that you place these in, just so you guys are aware, every build in the game reads like a book, okay? It reads from the top left, and it moves this way, and then you go down to the next line, and it moves this way. So it basically reads like a book. The order that you have your stuff in is how you're going to determine what elemental stuff you're going to get over there. So if I took Blaze and I switched it with Shell Shock, watch what's going to happen to radiation and viral right here. Nothing, because I'm stupid. Okay, let's do this. There we go. I'll switch Toxic with Scattering Inferno. So now what's happening is we lost our Radiation and Viral, and we got Magnetic and Gas instead. So basically the reason why it's doing that is because, like it reads like a book, whatever mod is touching the next mod is what's gonna create the elemental that you're affecting over here. Now this is only going to matter if you're using all 4 elementals, or even 3, if you're using 3 elementals. If you're only using 2, like if I got rid of, let's say, any 2 of these, I wouldn't have 2 elementals, I'd only have 1, and whatever, you know, like, I guess elementals I had on this build, those 2 would create whatever elemental it's supposed to wind up creating. So I know, like, cold and heat wind up creating blast. So if I got rid of toxic and I got rid of electricity, I would have blast sitting here as my elemental damage. We went over this in a previous video. That's you guys can go back and look that up. But you could even type in damage 2.0 into Google, and something will pop up for you where it'd be pretty easy for you guys to understand. They're all look at the images when you type damage 2.0 on Google, unless you're more of a reader and that's the way that you learn. But either way, there's loads of answers out there for you to understand this a little bit more depth if you want to. But just know that the order you put this stuff in makes a big difference on what output you're getting for your elementals. So I'm going to switch these 2 back, go back to Radiation and Viral. And really, that's all you guys really need to know as far as the build for this goes again. Again, it's the base damage, then multi-shot, then elementals, then crit or status. But really, draw a line here because you want to find out whether it's crit or status first. And crit's pretty simple. If you guys are building for crit, if your crit is on the weapon, if on the weapon your crit chance is higher than your status chance, let's say that with 30, let's say it was 30 critical and only 10 status, then you're building for critical. You're not really too super concerned with elementals, so you don't have to worry about all those. Instead, you're going to wind up looking for the crit mods. So we're going to see what we got here. Prime Ravage is critical damage. Ravage is critical damage. Try this with all different weapons, because this is just shotguns right now that we're looking at, that this is working out for. But basically, I really only needed to show you guys one example. You understand the gist. Base damage, multi-shot. By the way, physical damage falls under base damage. So build for base damage. But make a little side note here. I'm going to pull this back one more time. Last time. So, base damage, right? Underneath base damage, pretend that there's like a little line that comes down here and it says physical damage. You don't always need to worry about the physical damage. It depends on the weapon. The more you guys get into building and stuff, the more, you know, you try the weapons out, the more you're going to be able to figure out on your own what works and what doesn't for that particular weapon. Every single weapon in the game is different, so it's impossible for me to tell you, follow this exact formula no matter what, because it's never going to be no matter what. Every weapon in the game is different. This is really just the base idea of it for you guys. So base damage, and then pretend physical damage is under here, but draw it with a dotted line because it may not always be necessary. And then you got your multi-shot. Then draw a line here and look at elementals. If it's status, if it's not status, then just focus on crit. And that's not a guarantee every time either. There are some times you guys will build for critical and status, and then it's really up to you. So I know this sounds confusing, but if you get your base damage and your multi-shot down, you're friggin' good. Don't worry about it. You're totally good from there. Everything else after that point, the elementals, the crits, and the status, you guys can mess around with that stuff on your own and figure out what's good or what's not. But from the no matter every weapon you get the base damage up right from the beginning, and then focus on multi-shot, and then from then on out, you guys can figure out the rest from there based off of how you like the way that weapon plays or not. So moving on to our companions here. So whether you have a Sentinel, a Kubro, or a Kavat, or even a Charger, a Helmet Charger, what you guys are looking at when you guys are building this, because I've been getting this question a lot lately, is, but how do I build these things? And what's cool about this is the companions, no matter what companion you're using, there are not a lot of mods for you to choose from. So it really doesn't matter for the most part what you throw on your build. The first thing I would recommend is kind of similar to what we showed you. You guys want to get the damage of the Sentinels up. Unless your Sentinel, for example, like mine, I don't ever run out with guns on my Prisma Shade because the Prisma Shade is meant to make me invisible. And if it is going to fire at an enemy as soon as it sees it, that means it's going to unproc the invisibility and I'm going to come out of being invisible. And I don't want that. So I don't want this to actually have a weapon on it because it's more important for me that I'm using it for the invisibility over everything else. That being said, let's go back into this. First thing we're looking at is the health of the Sentinel. You basically want to focus on its health, its shield, its armor. That's what you want to focus on. Its health, its shields, and its armor. After that, you guys are going to have stuff like, where are we? Let's see. Here, shield capacity. So we want to get that up. We want to get that up, that up. So these three right here, these are the ones you guys are going to focus on. You know, the health, the armor, the shields, and all that sort of stuff. Throw that on there. If, where is it? I'm looking for these other things, and I'm not sure if it's just not a part of this Sentinel, or if it's whatever it is, but, so, oh, you know what? It's a Kubro thing that I'm thinking about. If you have a Kubro, you're going to find mods that basically kind of link to you. You do want to use the mods. You do want to throw the linked mods on, where your companion or your Cravat or Kubro get linked to you. It might be like linked shields, linked armor, linked health, like whatever you know the linked version of it is. You do want to use those. In rare cases like Warframes like a Naros, you don't need to worry about the shields. You would want to max out your health. Like when I have a Kubro on and I'm using a Naros, that Kubro's health goes over like 850, 8,500. Like the Kubro's health goes over 8,000 because of how big a Naros's health pool is. So that's why I'm telling you guys the linked health is a good thing to have on there. Especially, like I said, with the Naros. But all that being said, everything else you guys are throwing on really doesn't matter. And again, these read like a book. I have Ghost here because whatever mod you put on, like for Ghost right here, and then I have Vacuum, it's more important for me to be going invisible than it is for me to be going in, you know, picking up items and stuff like that in the game. That's just my personal preference. You guys can swap it if you want. But just know that having the Ghost up here in the top left means that this is going to proc more often than if you had other things on here that would proc. So just know that. This is important. A lot of these mods that have this polarity on them, it's important where you place them. If I had the Ghost all the way down here at the bottom right, it really would rarely proc, and I'd think it were broken. I'd be like, yeah, I liked using the Shade, but I just wish I went invisible more often. Well, if you want more invisibility, throw it up here in the top left corner, because then it'll proc more often. I don't know why they set it up like this, where it doesn't just, you know, proc a fixed number of times, but that's just the way the DE set it up. So I do recommend that you guys figure out which ones are most important to you, and then you place them in order like that, you know? All that being said, we went over the Kavats, well, whatever. We went over basically how to build your Sentinels and stuff like that. Focus on making them beefy, whether it's a Kavat, Kubro, Sentinel, get there, you know, like get them beefy. Then if they have damage stuff, if it's a Kavat, throw your base damage on. If it's a Kubro, throw the base damage on there. Get that stuff up as high as you can. You're probably gonna enjoy how beefy you can get these things, and how when I say beefy, I mean like how tanky you can get them. You probably enjoy how tanky you can get your Kubros and Kavats, and how powerful they really are when it comes to killing enemies. If you max all this stuff out. Based off of doing this on my Xbox account, you may need to put 7 or 8 formas on these builds. I'm not kidding. You might even have to put 10 formas on these if you really want to max out everything for your Kubros and Kavats. But that's completely up to you. You'd probably be good with just a few forma, and, you know, then you could move on. But if you want to be super tanky, super endgame, and really care for your pets, you could go ahead and put that many forma into them. But do it as you need to. Just this way you don't wind up overdoing it. So we did the companions, we went over the weapons. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Warframes. This is pretty important for you guys. So when it comes to like, okay, well, how do I build my Warframe? This is what you want to do. You want to go to the abilities, and you want to look at basically what it's saying over here. Most important thing is you want to know, like, read the little synapses here on what all these different abilities do. Every Warframe, you're going to have the 4 abilities. It's going to tell you what they do. Read that. When you play the Warframe, after the Warframe has reached level 30, try out all the different abilities. If the Warframe's not level 30, you guys aren't really seeing the capability of the abilities yet. So don't really judge any Warframe in this game until you've hit its until the Warframe has got to rank 30. Once it's there, read through this stuff. Try each and every one of these out. See how you like it. Whatever you like the most in the Warframes, that's what you want to build for. And it's basically going to tell you what you want to do here. So right here, rip line, right? I don't use this. I really don't know anybody that uses this. But if I wanted to have a good rip line build, I'm going to look over here. The first thing it says is range. Okay, so I know I want to get range mods on here now if I want to build this for range. And then we're looking at damage, so strength mods would be a good thing too from that point forward. And then combo window, this isn't necessarily something you have to worry about as far as the build. But we know range and damage for this one. Warcry, okay, so range, I gotta focus on that. Duration, that's just straight out. I want to put duration on here if I care about Warcry. Armor increase, speed decrease, right? And then back down to here, paralysis. Range, damage, that's what I want on here. For hysteria, I want damage, I want range, right? Let's go pick another Warframe. See what else we can come up with here. Let's go with, here, let's go with Loki. So, Loki, we're looking at, this is so easy. This is like super crazy easy to build a Loki, right? Decoy, we got duration, and then range and range. Like, done. That's it. That's all you guys really have to worry about as far as building a Loki. As far as the damage goes, this is just personal preference and me throwing this out there, but as far as damage goes on Loki, I wouldn't really super worry about this, because really what you're going to be using what you're going to use radial disarm for, you're never using it to kill an enemy. You're not going to one-shot enemies with radial disarm. Like, that's just ridiculous, especially if you're in end game. Just throw that idea out the window. It's not happening. What you're using this for is crowd control. That's what you're using this for. When you wind up using this as a crowd control, you're basically disarming the enemies if they have projectile weapons. So basically anything that fires bullets, you're going to disarm that from the enemy. So now, if they're going to wind up, hurting you, they're going to have to physically run at you and, like swing at you with like melee weapons, which does kind of control the crowd a lot easier. It makes life a lot easier for you guys, because getting away from the enemies in this game is not very difficult, especially if they don't have weapons to fire at you. But hopefully you guys see the point here. Duration, range, and range. That couldn't have been any easier. Let's see if we can complicate this up a little bit more as our last example for you guys in this video. And again, let's use Ember a little bit. Complicate this up. So, abilities right here. Damage. Okay, so if you like her fireball ability, you're looking at damage, and then area damage. So this is likely going to be a range related for area damage. It doesn't say range, so I could be wrong, but for the most part, use common sense and try to figure it out. Accelerant, and then we have range and duration. And again, the reason why I'm not going over every specific build here is because, one, I'm going to do that in separate videos, and two, every single frame is different. So I really have to give you guys the basic idea just so you guys can get through, the solar system on your own. It's really all you need to know right now. The longer you guys play the game, the more you're going to pick up and the more you're going to be like, okay, I definitely want this on there because that's going to be incredible, and, so on and so forth. So here we have range, duration for accelerant. For Fire Blast, we have damage, and duration. And then for World on Fire, we have range, damage. And this is really important for Warframes like Ember, like Valkyr. When you see energy per second, like for this World on Fire build, you always want to get this down below 1, especially if your main focus on the Warframe is this ability. If your main focus is this ability, you always want, whenever you see energy per second, you want that below 1. Because this basically is telling you how much energy are you going to lose while this ability is active per second. You don't want to lose more than 1 energy per second, because that's a lot of energy per second to be losing, especially if you guys, and that's just me, that's a personal preference, but I really recommend it on everybody else. All the veterans that I know that play this game, if they're focused on a Warframe and its abilities, and like here, Valkyr right here, we got energy per second down here is below, it's less than 1. All the veterans that I know that play this game, when they have, the energy per second stuff, like, it's never over 1. It's never over 1, because if their focus is on this ability, unless they have, you know, like Arcane Energy, an Arcane Energize set on, or they have the Zeneric School, or they're just, they know they're going to be so good on energy that they don't have to worry about how much energy per second, which a lot of times is just, how do I word this? A lot of times it's kind of like, it's just a waste. It's kind of a waste to have more than 1 energy per second. But unless you have all these, unless you have the Arcane Energized set, a lot of extra pads, the Zeneric School, unless you're loaded on energy and this doesn't matter, everybody I know builds for under 1. And that's what I'd recommend you guys do too, especially if you want to enjoy it. You don't want to use the ability for 5 seconds and then it's gone and you're like, oh my god, what happened to my energy? Well, you know, you built it for over, like, you know, your energy pool's at like 5 energy per second, so no wonder, you know, you ran out of energy so fast. But whatever. That's just, basically, that's kind of understanding the builds and what you guys want to look for. You're really looking for range, damage, duration, and all that sort of stuff. And your efficiency, by the way, affects right here. How much efficiency you wind up putting on your Warframe is going to reflect right here with these little energy orbs. So I know that if I want to go into Hysteria, to get into Hysteria when I use this ability, 18 energy lost right off the bat, and then I'm losing about 1 energy per second as long as I use it. With Paralysis, I'm only losing 4 energy. With Warcry, I'm going to lose 53 energy just to use this ability. For Ripline, I'll lose 18. So basically, that's what you guys want to focus on when you guys are building your Warframes. It's basically these 4 things right here. Duration, efficiency, range, and strength. Once you guys get this down, then you can kind of tweak anything else you want. Like, you throw a Vitality on there for the health, or, you know, throw something on for the shield, or if your sprint speed, if you don't like where your sprint speed is at, you can throw something like Rush on there to increase your sprint speed. But basically, that's what you guys are focused on. Is building for this sort of stuff. And really good mods to have would be stuff like Transient Fortitude, Blind Rage, Fleeting Expertise, Overextended, Narrow-Minded. You guys get all these dual stat mods. You see how it has a plus 63 and a minus 42. So it's adding to the duration, but it's taking away from range. These are super important mods, and you guys want to look into vault runs. I have a video on YouTube you guys can check out. Just type in NeoNest007 vault runs. That's vault spelt like this, V-A-U-L-T. So you basically just type it in vault runs, or vault run, or whatever it is. But that video that pops up would be super helpful for you guys to know what it is you're supposed to do for vault runs in order to get those mods, the really important ones that you guys need. That's really the only place you can get them other than Trade Chat. And that's where I'd recommend it, because otherwise you're going to be wasting a lot of platinum for something that you could have easily farmed with a group of people that probably would be looking for the same thing in Trade Chat. I mean, Recruiting Chat. But all that being said, the very next video, you guys, that we're going to do is going to have loads of spoilers in it. So do not watch the next video unless you have beaten the Second Dream and the War Within. All that being said, love your faces. I hope you guys are enjoying the hell out of this game as much as I am and the rest of the community. Guys, feel free to stop by twitch.tv/NeoNest007. You guys can find links in the description below where I help you guys out, answer any questions you guys have. Lately, I've been streaming every single day. I don't know how long that's going to stay, but for now, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I love your faces, and I'll see you guys in the next video.